Yeah. Okay. Welcome to the New Legend podcast, where we still, to this day, celebrate vintage 4x4s, adventure, family, culture, and being a man in the 21st century. Really cool. So this is an episode you're going to want to watch on video because we are in the new world headquarters of New Legend.
Ooh, temporary headquarters.
We're at San Onofre, Old Man's.
Correct.
Inside of a
1990 Vanagon
multivan, yes. And then we are here. So today we're going to discuss, and I'll get to our special guest and our co-host, but today we're going to discuss Vanagon Life. There's everyone knows the hashtag van life. It's a thing, but this is Vanagon Life. And so we're going to explore what is Vanagon Life, how is it distinct from vintage 4x4 culture, community, what is similar, what is different. It's going to be fun. So we're here as usual with our co-host Luke.
Hello, everybody.
And very special guest, Jay.
Hello, thank you.
Now let me give a little context. Go ahead.
No, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Go
so little context. Jay and I met in 8th grade in Shelton, Connecticut. Yeah, he was the cool kid in school, and I was just nipping at his heels, trying to be like, Jay, please be my friend. And so Jay, we were like, kind of like, didn't become super good friends in 8th grade, right?
Yeah, it was 7th or 8th grade, right?
Yeah,
we've heard of each other, I think.
Yeah, and we were like, look, dude, let's fight and stuff like that. But I really got close like when we got our licenses,
right?
So speaking of that, as we always start this podcast with three kind of questions, 3 or 4. First question: what was your first? I know the answer to this, but what was your first car of note?
My first car of note was a 1973 Catalina Safari station wagon.
Oh,
it fit 11 people.
Dude, that's so rad.
And I had snow tires on it year round.
But that's not like that. That's a pretty incredible car.
Pretty incredible car for $75.
It's a lot of car for $75.
And then, because I remember, I don't really remember that car. Remember that dude Ed Dion?
I remember that. I actually gave that car to Ed Dion when I went to college.
Funny story about this. So we were like, I loved wrenching on cars when I was in high school, but I was kind of smart about it and already like trying to make other people do the work and me just get credit for it. So I remember one time we were doing a transmission swap in something.
On that.
It was? That's
yes.
Okay. And we got to the point where there was just like gallons of transmission fluid. Back in the day, people did bad things.
But in my driveway.
Yeah, there's just so much transmission fluid. I'm like, Ed, I bet you can't take the last couple bolts out or something. And he's just laying in it. It's all in his hair. I just vivid memories of that day. But then the car that we actually did a lot of exploring and road trips in. What was the next car you had?
Was it a red Honda Civic?
Yes.
It was a 1986 Honda Civic. We took it to Mexico and back. Dirt roads and all.
Yeah, and we went to like Martha's Vineyard. We just took a lot of cool road trips, man.
This was from Connecticut? You went to Mexico?
Oh, no. Different car.
Yeah, different car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But this car, like I just remember you had like a speaker box in the back with subs, and it sounded terrible, but it was just loud.
I think that was a Honda Civic also.
Yeah,
right?
it was a Civic
truckle.
for sure. Yeah, it was like an 86 or something.
Yep.
Great car. So, what did it mean to get your license?
Wow. Well, coming from a single parent household, it was pretty great because my mom was very busy working and really.
And you had older brothers. Did they drive you around a lot, or not
no,
really?
they were already. My oldest brother was already gone.
Yeah,
he already moved to California when we lived in Connecticut. So, no, my brother and my middle brother wouldn't let me take me anywhere. So that was the little brother.
But that's an interesting take. So it meant both, like what you're describing as it was like a way to like. Kind of like a responsibility and a way to get around, to just function.
Right.
What else did it mean, though?
Just you had your independence.
Yeah.
And, it gave you a little something of your own, something to personalize. Only like Catalina Safari, the 1970 Pontiac, we painted a Superman painting on the back.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, that's actually
the bull horns. I had the bull horns
yes.
on the Honda Civic also,
and that's like so.
Like
we've asked
strapped to the grill.
Screwed right on.
Yeah, just
screwed it right on.
And we've talked a lot.
Good.
We've asked this question to a lot of people so far. No one's really given that answer yet. A way of like not identity, but a way of like individualizing something, expressing yourself through this automobile. So that's a very interesting take.
Did you get put to work, like running errands once you got your license?
And I had to get a job. Yeah. 15 and a half, I got a job, and then 16, got the license.
You remember Jay and I worked at this country club together.
Oh, man. Yes.
That was classic. Remember one time we came in super early and like we worked with this older Filipino guy and he was taking a bath in the sink. Like, dude, you can't do that, man. It's like, oh, sorry. That was rad. Okay. Then what do you think is going to be the future of driving? So we talk, like there's all this talk of autonomous cars and everything's electric, kind of banning driving in cities. Like it's already happening in Europe, and they kind of say as Europe goes, we'll go. So what do you think the future of driving will be?
I think that'll probably be the future, but I was always going to be that person who wants to drive their own car, you know? That feeling, you can just jump in it and go wherever you want. Drive what you want.
It might just be outside of cities, huh? Like, I bet in like downtown, like it's already happening. Like it's already happening. Like they're starting to close off sections of. I've heard in New York, like they're closing off sections of the city to driving, and whether or not they'll allow autonomous cars in there, I don't know. But it's just going to be interesting. We'll have to see.
So there's no cars in those sections? Like it's just.
I've heard in New
street-
York
like-
there are specific sections that they've made them no driving anymore.
Huh.
And I've heard Oklahoma City is doing some initiatives to make the city more walkable, which means getting cars more off the road. Interesting phenomenon. I've been to Cambodia a bunch of times, and so in Phnom Penh, like in the capital city, it was just in the 70s. It was just like these cyclos, which is like these bicycle carts, like that they like ride people around on, and then mopeds started coming in, and then you had like the tuk-tuks. Or tuk-tuk, however you say it. But the tuk-tuks are all these mopeds with like, it's like a moped with a little trailer, two-wheel kind of canopy trailer. And then those just took over all the streets. But now there's like this rising middle class and cars are so the streets aren't built for cars. And so it's like just all this congestion and traffic. It's kind of interesting to see that development. But, okay, so discussing Vanagon Life. So we kind of live a lifestyle and enthusiasm and passion around vintage 4x4s. So how could you describe, first, like, let's give us some history on how you kind of got into Vanagons.
Well, it's funny, one of our youth pastors at church, they had a Vanagon.
Which one?
The Christgauss.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
They had a Vanagon, and I just thought it was pretty cool. And, we could sit 3 rows deep and load a bunch of people in it.
And it was just like a tin top or something. Yeah.
Yep, correct.
Okay, cool.
It did not have a tent on top. It was the normal 7-passenger van. And I remember when somebody rear-ended them, and they were like, what are we going to do? Somebody rear-ended our Vanagon. And I didn't get it. And so they couldn't find another one in that good a shape. They actually had it repaired because they loved it so much.
Cool.
And I was like, that's pretty cool. They liked this car so much.
Yeah.
And I think that was my first glimpse into.
Really? So then then you moved to California
Right.
when you were 18, 19.
Right.
Went to school, but yeah. So when did you actually pull the trigger on getting one?
It was shortly after I got married. I saw an auction, and the auction had a Vanagon there. And so I
Interesting.
spoke with my wife, and I said, hey, that might be a cool car for us, just the versatility of it, and they're pretty cool. So sure enough, we went down to this auction, and it was my wife and I, and another family started bidding on this Vanagon, right? And it was just them back and forth, me back and forth, trying to win the bid on this. And we must have raised the price up like $600-700 more.
What year do you think this was?
Had to be 1999, 1998 or something.
So
there.
much like vintage 4x4s, Vanagons, like vintage 4x4s, have escalated in value, realistically, in some cases, tenfold in the last 5 years. Some are like Broncos kind of started before a lot of the other ones, but certainly with Scouts and Wagoneers has been the last like 5 years. Like full size Blazers, just
They'll
I
get
don't
there.
know. I don't know.
They're coming.
They're awesome, but like they haven't like they're not like iconic. They're iconic, but they're not super popular. But anyway, so since the 90s, were Vanagons like super hot and expensive at that point?
No, they were very cheap. You could find tons of them.
What did you
know.
pay for yours?
Oh man, maybe like $3,000.
Okay, and it was tin top.
It was a tin top. It was a 1990 Vanagon Karat, which was like top of the line for Vanagons. It had power windows,
Oh, yeah.
power mirrors, had everything. Everything that a modern car would have.
And really quick, give us some history. When were Vanagons first imported to the U.S.?
So Vanagon started in 1980,
Okay,
and from 1980 to 83 they were air cooled.
okay.
About 83 and a half to 1991 they became water cooled.
What year again?
1983 and a half
Yeah.
to about 1991.
Water cooled. Okay.
Water cooled. They stopped making them in 91.
Okay. So interesting. And then what was like before and after, like what do they call it? The bay window?
Right. There's a split, the bay window, the Vanagon, then the Eurovan.
I'm sorry, I'm digging into this trivia, but when did like the microbus? They're like the 50s, right? Like the 21 window stuff.
Right. Split windows. It has the piece of metal that divides two windshields in half in
Yeah.
the front.
And those are like incredible money.
Yes.
Those are with like all the mini sunroofs down the
Yeah.
side.
Yep.
Like what are we talking? $100,000.
Yep. Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep. There's
'Cause-
actually a company that will put those windows into a normal, like non-safari van. It's
Wow.
pretty neat.
So those started, and this is similar in like other car spheres. Like the split windows started rising in value first, right?
Correct.
And then did the bay windows? Are they kind of doing the same?
Yeah, I think the bay windows are definitely, obviously coming up in price.
And then Vanagon's similar.
Right. My genre is the Vanagon.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Sorry. That like, and that's kind of, I think, is that a subculture in and of itself in the Vanagon culture? Is there some like divisions like, oh, you're a bay window kind of?
Right. Yeah, there is, but because if you're a holistic Volkswagen person, you want the air cooled. You're going for the air cooled.
Yep.
But I think individuals of my age bracket, 40, 45, somewhere in there, they had a neighbor or a dad or an uncle who had a Vanagon.
Yeah.
So they remember those good times
Okay.
in there, and that's what kind of brings it up to the
Heather's
forefront.
family actually had a Vanagon, like a
Okay.
tin top, like three forward-facing rows. So this is a we are in right now a 1990 or 91?
1990.
1990, and this is kind of a top of the line. Talk to us about. So then there's Westphalia. What was Westphalia?
So Westphalia actually did the conversion of the pop tops.
Okay.
So in the Vanagon time frame, the only people who did the conversion for the pop top in the kitchens were Westphalia.
Okay. Now this is not a Westphalia.
It is.
It is.
The Westphalia did the conversion.
So the multivan. Explain to me that.
So the multi-van just means it's a weekender. So there's no kitchen or sink inside this one.
If you watch the video, you can see there's no kitchen. But you've had full Westphalias, right?
Right.
Is it Phalia or Phalia?
Westphalia.
Westphalia. Sorry.
Yeah.
And Luke, you've seen those, right? The ones with with the kitchen and
Yeah.
everything. And why do you kind of prefer?
Because we probably camp 20, 25 times a year. And if we, the other 340 days, I don't want to lug around a refrigerator and a sink and all that extra weight, and I lose maybe 2 feet in space. Those vehicles are so versatile. I can load a whole sheet of plywood in here, and the next day go camping with my
Cool.
family of four.
And this table that you see, like this, just folds down. These two jump seats that are back facing, they just pop out.
Yep.
Is the Weekender the only one that has the rear facing kind of jump seats in it?
Right. So if it's a weekender or a multivan, it's the same. Its terminology is the same. They have the jump seat and the table.
Okay.
And this plastic molding that goes along the one side that contains.
And do all Vanagons have that fold down bed in the back?
No, some years do not come with the fold down. Just a
Okay.
bench seat back here.
Can you get a forward facing bench seat in that bed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So they call it 7-passenger.
7 passenger. Okay.
There'll be a 2-seater in the middle, and then the bench seat in the back.
Okay. So let's dig into what makes the community. Is there a strong community within Vanagons?
Yeah.
We'll kind of stick to that.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
So explain, and actually let's keep with your story. So you buy this Vanagon, and how did it start like becoming a couple things? Because you've really, what's fascinating to me, and I think something a lot of people like that are listening can relate to, is you've really funded, and we can get into some of the nuance of that. But you've really kind of funded your Vanagon hobby by turning it somewhat into a small business.
Yes.
And for everyone's, we are forbidden to talk about where Jay gets his parts.
Part source, man. So curious.
So we'll stay off that topic. Now, I have been with Jay on multiple occasions when we found the holy grail of Vanagons in unannounced,
mysterious
locations.
We filled this van with parts.
More than once.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So talk about that. How did that develop? How did you kind of get so in tune with the Vanagon culture?
Well, it is an older car, right? It's 1990. Things are bound to break down, crack. They get old. Start falling apart. So I couldn't afford to go and buy brand new parts from some of the suppliers. So that I would locate used ones. Well, I got into where, hey, this part always breaks on my Vanagon, so I got to know it's breaking on other people's Vanagons too. So why don't I grab 3 of those, and I'll keep one for me, and I'll sell the other 2 to pay for the part I just bought.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of steamrolled.
How long after you bought the Vanagon did you start doing that?
It took a couple years, because then the first couple of years was like, oh, this van takes a little more maintenance and care than a normal car.
And just to show some of the devotion, and maybe you'll meet Jay's wife Debbie, but they live in we're in Southern California. You guys live in Southern California. As most people know, yards, garages are not huge
Right.
in Southern California. But how many Vanagons have you had?
Probably had somewhere around 15.
Oh,
And I've probably cut up about 5 in my front yard.
it's so awesome. It's like a full out residential neighborhood too. A very nice.
And how many do you have right now?
I only have 2 right now.
2 full ones.
Yes.
And that is something also people in the vintage 4x4 space, our Scout customers. Two things I'll bring up. That's very normal. A lot of guys that have 1 Scout have 2 because they bought 1 for parts, but then they're like, wait, I could just fix this one
Or
up.
3 or 4.
Or 3 or 4. I mean, my story, the first one I bought, I don't know. I can't remember really, but 6 months into it, I had 3 or 4. We were living in an apartment, and I had 3 or 4 of them for the same reason. So also, how is in the Scout world, there's anything Scout, there's a number of light line dealers to get replacement parts. Does that also exist in the Vanagon world?
Yeah, there's probably 3. Go Westy, Van Cafe, which is Rocky Mountain Westy, and those are the big ones, really.
And then there's also a pretty robust online community, correct?
Of course.
And what's that? What is that source?
The Zamba. It's like a Volkswagen forum where you sell all types of Volkswagen parts, and there's the forum section also.
Cool. And that's a place that you've learned a lot of things.
Absolutely. Learn, ask questions. It's just a bevy of knowledge. People from all over the world.
Are there any not larger, but larger than a one dude operating out of his garage, official businesses that build spec Vanagons?
Probably Go Westy's the biggest.
They still, tell me about that, because they used to do projects for people, but I've heard they don't do that anymore.
Right. Yeah. From what I remember, what I believe now is they build their own. They won't take yours and fix it for you anymore.
And they do. Do you know how many a year approximately?
No.
And those are pretty pricey.
Yes, those are the
70 plus.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So then there's this subculture, this dark, deep subculture of parts exchanges. So talk about that. How so you get all these parts. You have we'll show some pictures. You have half a Vanagon in your backyard with a bunch of wheels in it, and there's this and your wife and my wife are friends, but they are also really amazing ladies in that they put up with our habits. Because my wife so many times has been I have this E30 BMW project, and I pulled the exhaust out. So it's this 15-foot long rusty exhaust system, and I just put it outside in the grass on the side yard, which is very visible to our neighbors and to the public. And she's just oh, please, come on, don't leave that there. And so, but she's really gracious, and your wife has obviously been super cool as well.
Agreed. Yeah, it gets creative. I try to hide some things back there, behind bushes or beyond the side of the windows, underneath them so you can't see them. Yes.
Did you put up? Did you build a shed to hold some stuff too?
Yeah, I had to get 2 sheds to put stuff in there.
But that's what's so fun. So, how do you kind of assist the Vanagon community with these parts? Like through Samba? Is it Zamba or Samba?
Zamba.
So you sell some on there.
Mostly through there, mostly online. There is a Pomona swap meet, which is vintage car parts.
Yep.
Once in a while, I'll go there if I have a surplus, but it's a little more effort,
Okay. So that's good. So let's talk about this. You were telling me like there's some people that criticize you for like, the fact that you actually like slightly mark up some of the parts that you buy.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting. I sometimes sell other Mercedes parts that fit onto Vanagons.
Yeah.
And someone commented online, he's one of those rim flippers. Well, yeah, I buy the rims, I save them from being destroyed or recycled, and we repurpose them,
Yeah, so without giving up anything about where you get your parts.
Thank you.
The parts that you get, like they are going to be destroyed.
Right.
And go away forever. And to me, that's the saddest thing ever. In the Scout world, the dude that I bought anything Scout from, he said, I have personally scrapped 500 to 1,000 Scouts. And back in the day, I saw a lot of those Scouts back in the early 90s. They were like, we would
consider very nice Scouts.
Very nice. Like we would pay up to $7 to $10,000 for one of those bodies now. And he was just like, whoop, take the good stuff, crush them. So I feel like what you're doing is a huge service to the Vanagon community, because if you want that little dome light or whatever, or dash light or a speedometer or gauge cluster or like whatever, like oftentimes you can't find it. And are your prices cheaper than Go Westy?
Of course.
Right. So like
Vanagons were the same way. Like 15 years ago, I could have picked them up for $500-800. Now that same one would be like $5,000, $6,000.
And $5 or $6,000 is like kind of a beater.
Yeah, for a tin top. No kitchen, no tent on top.
Yeah, help us understand that. So what are some of the values now? Like, a tin top, regular tin top.
Right. When a regular tin top means there's no tent that pops up and there's no kitchen. A good one that rolls down the road would probably be, $5,000 to $7,000.
Okay.
If it was nice and clean, you're looking at around $8,000 to $10,000.
Okay.
Could be, depending on what kind of motor's in it and just
some of them, just like Scouts, dude. I've seen some of the Vanagons that you roll home and like they're grimy.
Oh yeah.
Because dudes be living in those things and doing nasty stuff.
Yeah. This one actually, the guy was living in San Diego.
Wow.
And the carpet was like cement. I don't know what what he was doing.
Cement's better than jelly. Cold jelly.
A little sticky.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, 8 to 10 G's for like a clean tin top. And is there a price division between like the water cooled and air cooled Vanagons?
Right. Yeah. The air cooleds don't get as much because they're just not reliable enough, or you can't really travel in them that well because they are air cooled.
And like Scouts, like Broncos, like anything, rust is the devil.
Correct.
Right. So who cares? Because I've seen who cares if the motor's blown up? Like you can put a motor in them pretty easy.
Right. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Okay. Then let's get into like pop tops. Is that right?
Right. So the pop tops probably range the same. Probably like bottom of the scale would be 10, all the way up to, depending on if it's 4-wheel drive.
Well, let's get to that next. But so what is like a pristine, like this rig? Like what is a pristine pop top weekender?
Probably between 15 and 20.
Okay, that's still reasonable.
Yeah.
Because I thought I've seen them for like 30 to 50.
Probably with a Subaru motor.
Oh, okay, cool.
Or something like that.
So that's another thing we talk about. So swaps, that's a thing?
Right. This one has a 2.5 Go Westy motor,
Which is sweet.
which is nice. So it came with a stock 2.1. A lot of people put Subaru motors in instead.
Because
2.2s
like
and 2.5s.
what's interesting is the capacity of this thing is actually pretty decent. Like on this trip right now, so we left Seal Beach, and we had a about seven people, five surfboards,
Bunch of gear.
camera equipment, like stuff, and we cruised an hour and a half away, and it did great.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I love it.
So with the 2.1, it would have been a little more hurting.
Yeah. It would have been, max speed's probably 65, and this I probably do,
Okay,
70
so then,
easy.
and then what are some of the popular swaps?
So there's just basically two. There's the Subaru or the TDI, a diesel TDI, which is nice.
Okay, now's the golden question. Luke, you know where I'm going.
Do I?
Yeah. How does
I know what I'm thinking, but
Because think about all the battles we fought. We were like the first shop to really mainstream engine swaps for Scouts, because Scouts were similar, man. Like, they're underpowered, and I don't care who's listening and what you think. Like, the International 345 was not the best engine ever produced. It was a decent engine for its time, but technology has evolved so much, and I totally understand that there's a place to preserve the original stuff. No question. Luke has an original powered Scout. I have multiple original engine Scouts, so we want to preserve that and do that. But for the next generation that wants to drive them and doesn't know how to work on them, there is a place for swapping. But we less and less today, but we've received so much hate, like trolling, like, you're killing the Scout. It's not a Scout anymore.
The VW purists hate it. They
Yeah.
slap Subaru in there.
They do?
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Is it?
Yeah,
but in general, is it a value added?
Oh, absolutely.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely. Because this car is underpowered, but you don't drive this car to win races.
Right.
Right? It's part of the journey.
Yep.
And if something
Something
breaks,
like that, yeah.
I can fix it on this car. You put a
Yeah.
Subaru in there, I can't.
Right.
And I carry extra parts right behind me in this, in the cabinet. So I can, even on the road, I can pull over and change out.
And let's just be fair, because it's not quite a true analogy from a Scout to this Vanagon, because this 1990 Vanagon has fuel injection,
Right.
and that is a huge. If Scouts lasted long enough, or the technology was there for them to have TBI fuel injection, they would be way better. Or serpentine belts.
Were there Vanagons without fuel injection? Was there a transition somewhere?
Those air cooled ones have to be carbureted.
I don't know.
So,
I
like-
never owned an 80 to 83.
And just
Oh,
like a
my
funny
God.
little story to put it in context of the amount of passion and love that goes into what this van is, and it's just a material. It's just a thing. We talk about that. Like, this is nothing. This is just metal and rubber and whatever, plastic. But what it means to you, what it means to your family, and to the larger community is more important. But Jay's like, hey, I'm like, Jay, can we go down to this? We're gonna go check out this cool restaurant called Campfire in Carlsbad. We met this guy John, super cool guy, has this restaurant. He's like, hey, come check it out. So we're like, hey, can we go record this podcast and do that? And Jay's like, sure. I guess gotta change the spark plugs real fast. It's like, it's so funny. Like, hour and a half trip prep, change plugs.
Yeah.
Check the timing. Like, that's really funny. But it shows like the amount of because a lot of people will be like, I don't want to do that. I just want to get in, turn the key, and go.
That's true, but I've invested in this car,
That's
so
right.
it's invested in it, not just my time, but it brings in the family together too.
Oh yeah.
Got
Like James on interior duty.
Yes, like that tune-up took me 15 minutes. I did, spark plugs and cap and
You did
rotor.
all that? That's amazing.
But that's the beauty of this car.
Yeah,
I did it in
it is.
15 minutes.
I love that.
And I have just a cabinet full of tune-up parts.
Okay, so let's keep escalating up the value scale.
Okay.
So we did anywhere, let's say you said 15 to 40 to 50 for like a two-wheel drive, which they're rear-wheel drive.
Correct.
And then what is like, when do you get into like the holy grails?
When it's a Syncro, when it's a four-wheel
What
drive.
is this? Yeah, Syncro means it's four-wheel drive.
Four-wheel drive, right.
Now, did they ever make, so then you have Syncro tin tops,
Correct.
and those have a certain, what is a nice condition Syncro tin top?
Probably 15,000, 18.
Okay. 15 to 18. Is there such a thing as a multi-van Syncro? Like pop top? Like,
Without the kitchen,
yeah.
if it is, very rare. I don't think I've ever seen one.
That'd be
That's
sick.
originally a Syncro. But some guys do convert them
Yeah.
two-wheel drive into a four-wheel drive.
So then there's just the Westfalia full kitchen sink. Is that like
Yes.
the one?
That's the one. That's the
Good condition. What are we talking?
oh man. If it stock motor, probably like 35 to 40.
Okay.
And then if it has like a Subaru or the TDI
Yeah.
diesel, it could be 60,000.
What is the most expensive Vanagon you've ever seen sell? Like, maybe it didn't sell, but just someone was asking.
Probably like 85,000.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
nuts. And if you guys like just are bored on a like Sunday or Saturday, just like check on Instagram. Like Vanagons are really rad. Like they kind of, and what I love is like in the overlanding community, which vintage 4x4s have like this. It's definitely a sub genre of the overland community, right, Luke? I mean, it's dominated by like Land Cruisers, Tacomas.
It is slightly a different crowd. I don't quite know how to say it, but there is.
And it's probably equal. Like Vanagons hold us just as much as like vintage 4x4s are well received by that community. So are Vanagons. And like when you go to the Overland Expo West, which we're heading to in a couple weeks, when there are Vanagons there, like people are like, oh, those are sweet. Because they're kind of like they're like in a big sense, maybe like Land Rover, Defenders, early Land Cruisers. Vanagons are kind of like the early overland vehicles. Like because people take these things off road.
Yeah.
Like even in 2-wheel drive form.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible what they can do.
Because they can get a limited slip. They're pretty capable.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do we have to know about Vanagon culture?
Just events. What events have you been to?
The community, right?
Yeah. Just a gathering of like-minded people with similar passions.
Yeah, coming up this Thursday is Syncro Fest. It's in Hollister, California. There's going to be like 350 people and almost 200 Vanagons.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that the biggest one on the West Coast?
Yes. There's a Syncro Solstice. I think it's in like Utah, Moab. But I've never been there. This is my third time to Syncro Fest. It's pretty neat. It's a pretty cool event.
And they're like, we watched this documentary on this like Descend on Bend, which is it's not exclusively like a VW Vanagon thing, but it seems like it's kind of heavily attended by that community.
I think it's pretty much all.
Okay.
Yeah. And I that just started. I think it's only the second time they've had it.
So that's fascinating to me. Like, isn't it interesting? Because this is what we're getting at, something cool here. This is what we talk about. One of the things that's so cool about vintage 4x4s, classic cars, to some degree, that's a different thing. Vanagons, because we're not knocking. It seems like we come down heavy on like muscle car community. And there's some fun things like roadkill zip tie drags, like roadkill nights. They're doing some great stuff. A lot of people use them. But so often in muscle car culture, people just like drive them 5 minutes down the road to the local diner for the cruise. And they set up their lawn chair and just sit there.
And show type of thing.
But like Vanagons, it's like, let's go up to Hollister Hills, and then there's trail rides, and there's all this kind of cool adventurous stuff to send on bends in a cool location, and people do this pilgrimage.
Right.
I'm always curious if those kind of things are going to come to a close as values continue to rise. When people are like, this is worth too much.
Right. I mean, at Syncro Fest, you'll have, the rusted out Vanagon.
Yeah.
Which some guy's been almost living in it, to the guy that's, he had the whole thing stripped and like, wow, the Syncro, pop top and everything, and it'll range from, it's amazing in the person. And same with like in society, you'll have all different types of people, but we all have the love and the for Vanagons, and it brings everybody together, which that's the cool part of it.
That is cool. And that's why we do this podcast, actually. Because think about this is so fascinating, because all those events are like 2 to 3 years old.
Syncro Fest has been around for probably 8 to 10 years.
Okay, you've only been for 3.
I've only gone 3 times.
But it seems like experiential, community-based interest events around a vehicle or a thing are growing.
Yeah.
We see it. I think we see it pretty clearly. Like there's like 80s cars, like race event, like it's just they're popping up everywhere. And I think it's interesting to me that our country has never been more divided, at least in the eyes of the media, like politically. Like there's a lot of division, a lot of like anger. And if you took, I bet, a lot of the people from Syncro Fest and lined them up politically and said, now like argue about stuff, they would argue about stuff outside of that context. But you bring in what you talked about, Jay, like this passion, love for this particular vehicle and the lifestyle and community that comes around it. And now all of a sudden everyone gets along.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And I think that's
great.
A needed and powerful thing. Because it's kind of, in a sense, man, like church attendance is on decline. Community involvement stuff is on decline, but things like this are on the incline. They're on the increase, in my opinion. They're growing, and those social structures are very important for people, and like even a way that you connect with your son and daughter and bring them in. And actually, one thing I really want to talk to you guys about, Jay and Debbie, they have 2 kids. How old are they? 15
And 13.
15 and 13. Very, very disobedient kids. Very naughty. No, super cool kids and a cool family. But part of the reason why you guys are such a cool family is because you do things together. And we talk about this, like people that do stuff. And you've do that. That was actually, I thought you guys went camping. I told someone, I think I was telling our producer Michael, like, yeah, they're amazing. They go camping like 10 to 15 times a year. You're saying like more like 25.
Probably do 20, yeah.
20 to 25.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. And your wife did not grow up like a hippie kid, like sleeping on the dirt and just, right?
No.
Right.
No, but she did some camping when she was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just, but she appreciates a shower, appreciates a little bit of comfort.
Yes.
And my wife is exactly the same. And so that's something we want to do another episode, talk to you guys both, and just start like talking to some wives that get pulled into these communities. And like, to be fair though, like even Vanagon culture, we see it in the scout culture. More and more women are wanting scouts and buying scouts. Is that like?
Oh, definitely.
Do you see that?
Yeah, definitely. It's on the rise.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool because it's like having these. Think about how much competence and confidence you've grown in this mechanical ability since you've owned this. Like, because you just have to figure stuff out.
Right.
Especially if you're going to keep it original.
Right.
Like you have to be willing to put in that work.
Right.
Cool. Okay. We always have to get a little interesting in our third segment. Oh, I do have to talk about 2 things. Because I got so excited about the conversation. Want to thank Kenda Tires. Like, so obviously all of us love vehicles, and oftentimes I know like the old us, we used to be like, kind of whatever tires, like just get some tires on it, or like it's more like around, I want mud tires. So you find a mud tire that you like the look of, or like an all-terrain. But recently we went on this quest a couple of years ago to like, what is a great tire for all of our new Legend builds? And we looked at all the major brands. And when we met, we didn't really know much about their brand, but the Kenda Tire team, we were just so impressed with their team, so impressed with their company, the way that they're building, almost rebuilding, reestablishing their brand, putting tons of dollars and manpower and energy into this segment of like, their kind of slogan is "Design for your journey." So just getting tires that are appropriate for your journey, whether it's cruising up the highway or going off road. And one of our favorite tires on the market is the Kenda Cleaver. It's like this rough terrain. It would actually be pretty sweet. They're growing their size catalog, but it would be really rad on like maybe on your Syncro. We'll have to get some. So thanks to those guys. And one other company that we're super stoked to work with, and one that might be interesting for you guys, is communication. So we always travel in groups. Like we have our Terribles, new Legend trucks. We're always like 5 or 6 trucks deep.
5 or 6.
And one of the biggest hassles for us has been communications. So like we use cell phones, but then when we're up in the north woods of Wisconsin, the cell phones don't work. And so we're like, stop. Everyone like, pull over, come around. And we talk like, hey, do we have to take a left up here? So we discovered this company, Midland USA, and they have these GMRS. It's like, I don't really know the technology, so we're going to have them on to teach us all about it. But it's up to 40 watts of signal power, which a CB radio, just for context, is 4 watts. So it reaches up to 40, 50 miles.
Wow.
And it's just flip on the channel. It's like this very convenient, plug it into your cigarette lighter. We're on channel 14, and you're off to the races with good, reliable comms. So shout out to those guys too. That's some great products. So Jay, as we close this segment, thank you first off for introducing us to the Vanagon culture. I'm sure we'll talk again. Again, really want to get you and your wife on here and talk about we can talk about so much with that. Delicious food. Both of our wives are great cooks. We're really spoiled like that. But camp food, It's delicious. It's fun to have. Everything tastes better when you're camping.
Yeah.
Down to like, how do you pack? How did you kind of, how did you help make her comfortable?
Right. It's important.
That's the real thing. Is that something you tried to do?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, a good husband.
Yep.
'Cause
And
for me-
you just have a better time.
For sure. Because I was under this, like, Luke and I have talked a lot about this. Like, the more you suffer, the more memorable the trip is. Like, we're sleeping on roots and rocks. It's like, oh, that was awful, but it was so cool, man. Let's do it again. And the older I get, I'm getting less of that. But I kind of put that value on my wife, Heather, and like, you're just being a baby, Heather. Like, trust me, it'll be good. Like, just suffer. And
She didn't resonate with that so much.
She's like,
Wonder why.
she really changed my thinking. So like, why would you do that? That sounds stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
but Sean, we could be comfortable and
Yeah.
happy.
And so then through brands like Nemo equipment, like that's like their whole thing, like to be more comfortable. And so we got some nice bags and pads, and like, and all of a sudden she's like, oh, this is fun. And we got a little shower, like
Yeah, I love that Nemo shower.
the Helio, game changer for us. So like Heather can actually shower, because she's like, I got to shower every day. I don't care. And again, it's easy for us to go like, oh, that's whatever, like to judge that, but it's like, it's not my place to do. It's like, if you want to shower, great, let's figure out a way to get you a shower. There's so much great stuff out there. So anyway, we'll talk about all that, but leading into that, what does it mean to be a man?
What does it mean to
To
be a
Jay,
man?
yeah, to Jay, what does it mean to be a man?
It means to provide and protect for my family. Those are the two things.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Simple.
yeah, dude, it's so
But hard.
important. We had, and that's another question we just ask, and because there's some confusion, I think, about what it means to be a man, and there's like, you hear the terms like toxic masculinity, but like, what's toxic about that? To go like, I want to provide, protect, care for. That's all. That's great stuff, and I think something we need more and more in our country. So, okay, before we get more philosophical, Jay, thank you so much. Thanks for renting us this studio space. This is rad. Again, you should watch this one. Like, if you could see what we can see, I'm not sure if you could see this, but like, the ocean's right there. People are surfing, and we actually
Just came in from the surf.
a couple hour surf session, which is one of the highlights for me, and like something that Jay and I have done since high school.
Yep.
We started surfing together on the East Coast, and like I moved to Iowa about 11 years ago, and so Jay's continued to surf, and it's like something him and his son do a lot, and so I'm so grateful and thankful that he helps me go surfing, and so he stores my wetsuit
My
and
pleasure.
surfboards, and always like, dude, let's go. So I love it. Super great. And Luke got to
My
go
first
surfing.
time out here. These guys were
Buddy?
These guys were telling me what to do, and I was not doing it.
I did great
Trying my
for the
best.
first time.
And what's great, just like,
time.
because everyone's got like multiple interests. Luke has gone wake surfing before, so when I moved to Iowa, we're like, dude, we're getting a boat, because like I love surfing, I love water, and so like there's nothing to do in Iowa, so get a boat, and there's lakes.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been wake surfing,
Wake surfing, wakeboarding.
yeah, and you're like, dude, you do pretty well at that.
I,
But,
do,
like,
I go once a year, so it takes me a bit, but I try
this
to get
is
the hang
like
of it.
much more challenging, huh?
Very challenging. You gotta. I don't know. I haven't figured out how to read the wave, so.
It's good luck.
No,
It takes
yeah,
a while.
okay.
Well, cool. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll be back next week. So thanks for joining the New Legend podcast. And yeah, we really do appreciate you guys listening, and you don't have to, obviously. So we try to do an interesting show, and we did this California trip just for the podcast. We said, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many cool people we wanted to talk to, and it's hard to get them out to Iowa. So we're like, let's just go to where they are. So we've gotten to talk and meet with so many great people. We'll do 8 episodes in 3 days, and so it's been
Jamming.
really fun. So be waiting and listening for those. Jay, thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you later, guys.
Enjoy.